The housing crisis isn't a crisis at all. Not in the way we usually think of one, like a sad and unexpected event that throws a stable system off balance. No, what we're seeing today, the crushing inability of entire generations to afford the most basic human need of shelter, is not an accident. It is, by design, a feature of our meticulously crafted economic reality. It's a crisis that has been engineered, a deliberate outcome of policies, financial tools, and ideas that put profit over people and assets over human dignity. This isn't about you not saving enough or making bad financial choices. It's about a system that actively stops you from owning a home and then has the audacity to tell you it's your fault for not trying harder. But first of all, leave a comment below telling us which country you're watching this video from. I'm really curious to see how far this message is reaching. Let's dismantle the popular story, the one that blames supply and demand, or lazy millennials, or too much avocado toast. These are just convenient fictions, distractions from the real forces at play. The truth is much more unsettling. Housing has been systematically turned into a financial asset, transformed from a fundamental right into a speculative commodity, an investment tool for the super-rich and powerful corporations. This isn't just how markets naturally evolve. It is a calculated strategy that uses your basic need for shelter to generate insane profits for a very small group of people. Think about the role of institutional investors. We're not talking about your neighbor buying a second house to rent out. We're talking about Wall Street giants, private equity firms, and global asset managers like BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. These companies, with trillions of dollars at their disposal, have been systematically buying up single-family homes, entire neighborhoods, even whole apartment buildings. They often pay way above the market price, making it impossible for average families to even compete. Then, they turn these homes into rental properties, which drives up rents and traps more and more people in a never-ending cycle of renting. They are literally extracting wealth from the working class and funneling it directly into their investment portfolios. This isn't an efficient market. It's a hostile takeover of the housing supply, a cartel-like move designed to control access and inflate prices for their own benefit. This whole process is supported by a global financial system that encourages and rewards this kind of speculation. Policies like quantitative easing and super low interest rates, which central banks put in place to supposedly boost the economy, have actually just inflated the prices of assets like real estate. When borrowing money costs almost nothing, it becomes free for those who already have access to it, not for you, the individual homebuyer, but for large corporations and wealthy investors. They can borrow huge sums of money, buy up property, and just sit back and watch their assets grow in value, while your wages stay the same and your dream of owning a home drifts further and further away. The wealth created by these policies doesn't trickle down to the rest of us. It shoots straight to the top, creating a massive gap between those who own assets and those who don't. This isn't economic stimulus. It's a massive transfer of wealth, plain and simple. But it's not just corporate greed. Governments, often influenced by powerful real estate lobbies and developers, play a huge part in keeping this engineered crisis going. For example, restrictive zoning laws are often blamed for high housing costs. While some zoning is necessary for planning our cities, many of the current rules, especially those that favor single-family homes over apartment buildings, artificially limit the housing supply in desirable areas. These laws are often exclusionary, designed to keep property values high for existing homeowners by preventing denser, more affordable housing from being built. They are not neutral. They are tools of social engineering that reinforce class and racial divides, making sure that those already in the system benefit at the expense of everyone trying to get in. The very idea of land as a commodity is another critical piece of this puzzle. Land is a finite resource, but it's treated not as a common good, but as a speculative asset. This ideology, which is deeply embedded in our economic theory, allows a few people to accumulate vast amounts of land and then profit from its scarcity. When land becomes a commodity, its value isn't based on its usefulness to people, but on its potential to generate rent and profit. This turns a fundamental necessity into a financial instrument, creating a system where the very ground beneath our feet is used as a tool for wealth extraction. This brings us to the idea of a rentier economy. In this type of economy, growth isn't driven by making things or innovating, but by extracting rent from existing assets. Housing is a perfect example. It generates rent in two ways: the actual rent paid by tenants and the profit from the property's value going up. When a huge part of the economy is based on extracting rent from basic needs like shelter, it creates a parasitic system. Those who control the assets profit effortless, while those who actually produce goods and services struggle to afford life itself. This is a major shift from the old industrial economy to a more financialized one, where the goal isn't to build or create, but to acquire and extract. The consequences of this engineered crisis are massive and affect everyone. It's not just about affordability, it's about the breakdown of our communities, the widening wealth gap, and the increasing uncertainty of life for millions. When homeownership, which has historically been a primary way to build wealth for future generations, becomes an impossible dream, it makes inequality even worse. Children born into families who own homes inherit a huge advantage, while those born into families who rent are locked in a cycle of paying someone else's mortgage, unable to build their own equity or pass on assets. This isn't just an economic problem, it's a social justice issue. It undermines the very fabric of our society and creates a permanent on top of that. The psychological toll is immense. The constant stress of trying to afford rent, the despair of watching housing prices soar out of reach, the feeling of always being behind. All of this leads to widespread anxiety and a sense of hopelessness. It kills entrepreneurial spirit, makes it harder for people to start families, and forces them to make difficult choices that compromise their quality of life. The promise of upward mobility, a cornerstone of many modern societies, becomes a cruel joke when the most basic step on the ladder, stable housing, is deliberately pulled away. So, if this crisis is designed, who benefits? The list is pretty clear. First, existing homeowners, especially those who own multiple properties. Their wealth grows passively, often without them doing any productive work. Second, institutional investors and private equity firms, who make massive profits from rental income and rising property values, often at the expense of community stability. Third, the financial sector, banks, mortgage lenders, investment funds that profits from the huge amounts of debt in the housing market. Fourth, developers and construction companies who can charge higher prices for new homes in a market with limited supply. And finally, indirectly, politicians who get campaign donations and support from these powerful groups and then pass laws that keep the system just as it is. Understanding that this crisis is designed is the first step toward fighting back. It means we have to reject the story that it's all about individual choices and start looking at the system as a whole. It means recognizing that the solutions aren't found in personal finance tips, but in fundamental, structural change. So what would a better approach look like? It starts with reframing housing as a human right, not a commodity. This basic shift in thinking would require a complete overhaul of our approach. It would mean strong government action to ensure truly affordable housing for everyone, not just market-rate housing with a few subsidized units thrown in. This could involve massive public housing projects, like the successful models in cities like Vienna or Singapore, where housing is separated from market speculation. It would mean stronger rent controls and tenant protections to stop predatory landlords from exploiting the scarcity they help create. It would mean higher taxes on vacant properties, multiple homes, and speculative land deals to discourage hoarding housing for profit. It would mean supporting alternative housing models like community land trusts and co-housing, where housing is owned and managed by the community, prioritizing affordability over private profit. These models show that housing doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. It can be a source of stability and fairness for everyone. It would also mean challenging those restrictive zoning laws and promoting denser, mixed-use developments that are truly inclusive and sustainable. And most importantly, it would mean breaking the power of financial institutions and wealthy investors who treat our homes like casino chips. This requires new regulations, stronger antitrust laws, and maybe even stricter public control over the housing market. This isn't about blaming individuals. It's about shining a light on the complex web of policies, financial tools, and beliefs that have deliberately created the housing crisis we face today. It's about understanding that the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was designed to, for the benefit of a select few. The real question is, will we continue to accept this design, or will we demand something better? If you found this analysis insightful and believe in challenging the stories we retold about finance and the economy, consider subscribing to this channel. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's continue to unpack these complex systems together. Thanks for watching.